You know that feeling when you open a challenging book and by page 3 you're wondering if you're actually stupid? Yeah, I've been there too, multiple times. And I'm saying this as someone who just finished a PhD where reading incomprehensible academic texts was literally my job for 4 years. Here's the thing nobody tells you. Struggling with difficult books doesn't mean you're not smart enough. It means you haven't learned how to read them yet. And that's exactly what I'm going to teach you today. I spent years feeling inadequate because I couldn't just pick up Kant or dense scientific papers and magically understand them. I would read the same paragraph 5 times and still have no idea what it meant. I remember sitting in the library during my first year of graduate school, watching other students seemingly breeze through these massive textbooks while I was stuck on page 12 of something that might as well have been written in ancient Greek. I felt like an imposter, like somehow the admissions committee had made a mistake accepting me. But then I discovered something that changed everything. I was reading passively when I needed to be reading actively. Let me explain what I mean by that, because this distinction literally saved my academic career. Most of us read difficult books the same way we read novels. We start at page 1, we move our eyes across the words, and we hope that somehow the information will just sink into our brains. But that's not how complex material works. Your brain needs to do something with that information, not just receive it. I learned this the hard way. I remember one particularly brutal semester where I had to read this massive philosophy text for a seminar. I'm talking 600 pages of dense, abstract argumentation. I did what I always did. I highlighted passages, I read carefully, I took my time. And when I got to class, I realized I couldn't articulate a single coherent thought about what I'd read. I had moved my eyes across every word, but nothing had actually stuck. It was humiliating. That's when my advisor pulled me aside and said something that changed my entire approach. You're treating reading like it's a passive activity. It's not. Reading at this level is a conversation. You need to talk back to the text. So here's the first major shift I want you to make. Stop trying to understand everything on the first read. I know that sounds counterintuitive, but stick with me. When you're dealing with a genuinely difficult book, your first read-through is reconnaissance. You're mapping the territory, not conquering it. What I do is this. I skim the entire chapter or section first. I'm not trying to understand it. I'm just looking at headings, bold terms, the first sentence of each paragraph. I'm asking myself, what is this chapter even trying to accomplish? What's the main argument? Who are the key thinkers or concepts mentioned? This takes maybe 10 minutes, but it saves me hours of confusion later because my brain now has a framework to hang information on. It's like looking at a map before you start hiking. You wouldn't just wander into the forest with no sense of where you're going, right? Now comes the active part, and this is where most people's approach completely breaks down. After that first skim, I go back to the beginning with a notebook. Not a laptop, an actual physical notebook. I personally use a Leuchtturm 1917 dot grid notebook because the pages are thick enough that my fountain pen doesn't bleed through. But honestly, any notebook works as long as you'll actually use it. And here's the crucial part. I don't take notes by copying sentences from the book. That's still passive. That's just transcription. Your hand is moving, but your brain isn't really working. Instead, I read a paragraph or a section. Then I close the book. Completely close it. And I try to explain what I just read in my own words on paper. If I can't do it, I didn't understand it. So I open the book again, read it again, and try once more. This is painful at first. Your brain will resist it because it's actual work. The first few times I tried this method, I wanted to throw my notebook across the room. I'd read a paragraph, close the book, and realize I couldn't remember a single thing. Not one thing. It was frustrating, and honestly a bit scary. But this is where understanding happens. When you force yourself to rephrase complex ideas without looking at the text, you're not memorizing, you're processing. You're making it yours. I also draw a lot. Even if the book isn't about visual concepts, I'll draw diagrams, arrows, little stick figures, whatever helps me see the relationships between ideas. When I was reading about epistemology, I drew knowledge as a house with different foundations. When I studied research methodology, I drew flowcharts. It doesn't matter if anyone else would understand your drawings. They're for you. They're your way of making abstract concepts concrete. Let me give you a concrete example. Last year, I had to read a book on statistical modeling that was absolutely brutal. The author assumed you already knew advanced calculus and wrote in this incredibly dense style. The first time I tried to read it straight through, I got nowhere. I mean nowhere. I spent an entire afternoon and made it through maybe 8 pages without understanding any of it. I felt defeated. I actually called my mom that night and told her I wasn't sure I could finish my degree. So I changed my approach. I'd read 2 pages, close the book, and write down, okay, what is this person actually trying to say? Sometimes my summary was, I think he's explaining why this type of model doesn't work in certain situations, but I'm not sure why yet. That's fine. That's honest. Then I'd read those 2 pages again with that question in mind. It took me 3 weeks to get through that book instead of 3 days. But I actually understood it. I could explain it to other people. I could apply those concepts in my own research. When I gave a presentation on that material later, my advisor said it was one of the clearest explanations she'd ever heard. That's the difference between passive and active reading. Now let's talk about environment, because this matters more than you think. You cannot read difficult material effectively while lying in bed or sitting on your couch with Netflix paused in the background. I tried that for years. It doesn't work. Your brain needs contextual cues that say, this is work time, this is focus time. I have a specific desk set up just for reading hard books. I have my notebook, I have a timer, I have a specific pen that I only use for study notes. It's a Lamy Safari fountain pen if you're curious, and I'm weirdly attached to it because my brain now associates that pen with deep focus. When I pick up that pen, my brain knows, okay, we're doing serious work now. I also use the Pomodoro technique, but modified. Standard Pomodoro is 25 minutes of work, 5 minutes of break. For really difficult reading, I do 45 minutes of work, 15 minutes of break. Why? Because it takes me about 10 to 15 minutes to actually get into the flow state with complex material. If I stopped at 25 minutes, I'd be interrupting myself right when I'm finally understanding something. That's like stopping a workout right when your muscles are finally warm. During those breaks, I don't check social media. I don't watch videos. I literally just walk around, get water, maybe do some stretches. Your brain needs actual rest, not different stimulation. I learned this after too many sessions where I'd take a break to check Instagram and then couldn't get back into the material for another 20 minutes because my brain was still thinking about what I'd just seen online. Here's another thing that helped me tremendously. I started reading difficult books in the morning, right after coffee, when my brain is freshest. I used to try to do this work at night after a full day of classes or meetings, and I'd feel stupid because nothing was sinking in. It wasn't that I was stupid. It was that I was trying to do cognitively demanding work when my brain was already exhausted. It's like trying to run a marathon after you've already run 10 miles. Your body just doesn't have it. Now, if you're reading something truly difficult like philosophy or advanced mathematics or dense theory, you need to accept that you might need supplementary materials. And this isn't cheating. This is smart. This is what smart people do. When I was reading Heidegger for the first time, I also got a companion guide. I watched lectures on YouTube. I joined an online discussion group. I wasn't replacing the hard work of reading the primary text, but I was giving myself support structures. Think of it like climbing a mountain. Sure, experienced climbers can free solo up a cliff face, but most of us need ropes and guides and a clear path marked out. That's not weakness. That's preparation. I also keep a running vocabulary list. When I encounter a term I don't know, I don't just look it up and move on. I write it down with the definition and an example of how it's used in context. By the end of a difficult book, I might have 20 or 30 terms that I've now internalized. This has been huge for me because so much of reading difficulty comes down to vocabulary. You can't understand complex arguments if you don't understand the words being used to make them. Here's something else that's going to sound strange, but works incredibly well. Teach it to someone else, even if that someone is imaginary. After I finish a chapter, I literally pretend I'm explaining it to a friend who's never encountered this material before. Sometimes I do this out loud while I'm walking. Sometimes I write it as if I'm composing an email. I'll say things like, okay, so basically what this author is arguing is, the act of teaching forces you to identify what you actually understand versus what you just think you understand. And when you hit parts you can't explain clearly, those are your gaps. Those are the sections you need to go back and reread. This has saved me so many times. I can't tell you how many moments I've had where I thought I understood something, tried to explain it out loud, and realized I had no idea what I was talking about. Now let's address something important. You're going to have moments where you feel completely lost, where you read an entire page and realize you have no idea what you just read because your mind wandered. This happens to everyone. It happens to me constantly. Just yesterday, I caught myself reading the same paragraph 3 times while thinking about what I was going to have for dinner. The difference is what you do next. Most people feel guilty, get frustrated, and push through anyway, which means they continue not understanding anything. Instead, when you notice your attention has drifted, stop. Don't keep going. Go back to the last point you actually remember understanding and start again from there. I mark these spots in my book with little pencil dots in the margin. It helps me identify patterns. If I'm consistently zoning out in certain types of sections, maybe I need more background knowledge in that area. Maybe I need to take a longer break. Maybe I need to adjust my environment. Maybe I need a snack because my blood sugar is dropping. Pay attention to these patterns. They're telling you something. Reading difficult books is also about managing your energy and expectations. You're not going to read 50 pages of complex material in one sitting, not while actually understanding it. On a good day, I can do maybe 15 to 20 pages of genuinely difficult reading with full comprehension. Some days it's 5 pages. And that's okay. That's normal. That's how it works. This is a long-term practice, not a sprint. I've been training this skill for years, and I'm still learning how to do it better. I still have days where I feel like I'm not making progress. I still have moments where I question whether I'm cut out for this kind of work. One technique that's been incredibly valuable is what I call layered reading. I'll read a difficult book 3 times, but with different purposes each time. First pass. What is this about overall? What's the structure? What are the main claims? I'm moving quickly here, just getting the lay of the land. Second pass. How does the argument work? What evidence is being used? Where are the weak points? Now I'm digging deeper, really engaging with the logic and structure. Third pass. How does this connect to other things I've read? What are the implications? What questions does this raise? This is where synthesis happens, where I'm putting this book in conversation with everything else I know. Each layer requires less time than the one before it because I'm building on previous understanding. But I'm also going much deeper than I would with a single read-through. This approach has been absolutely transformative for me. And here's something that might save you a lot of frustration. Not every difficult book is worth reading in full. Some books are badly written. Some books are unnecessarily obscure because the author is trying to sound smart, rather than trying to communicate clearly. Some books had one good idea that got stretched into 300 pages. After my initial skim, if I realize a book is difficult because it's poorly constructed rather than because the ideas are genuinely complex, I'll often just read summaries and key chapters instead of forcing myself through the whole thing. Your time is valuable. Be strategic about where you invest it. I spent way too long in my early graduate years forcing myself to read every assigned page of every assigned book, even when it was clear the book wasn't well written or wasn't relevant to what I was studying. I also want to talk about the mental game here because this is where a lot of people give up. When you're reading something difficult and you're not understanding it, your brain will tell you stories. It'll say, "You're not smart enough for this. Other people get this easily. You should just give up. Why are you even trying?" Those stories are lies. I have a PhD from a good university, and I still hear these voices sometimes. Every single person who reads challenging material struggles with it. The difference is that some people have learned to push through the discomfort. They've learned to recognize those voices as just noise, not truth. I reframe it like this. Confusion is not failure. Confusion is the feeling of learning happening. If you're never confused, you're not reading anything challenging enough. That uncomfortable feeling when you don't understand something, That's your brain actively working to make new connections. That's growth. That's what it feels like to get smarter. Let me share something vulnerable. During my second year of PhD, I had to read a foundational text in my field, and I could not understand it. I spent 2 months on this one book. 2 months. I cried about it. I questioned whether I should even be in academia. I had moments where I seriously considered dropping out because if I couldn't understand this one book, how was I going to write a dissertation? But I kept going. I read secondary sources. I discussed it with peers. I met with my advisor weekly to talk through sections. I rewrote my notes multiple times, and eventually it clicked. Not all at once, but gradually. First one chapter made sense, then another, then suddenly I could see how they all fit together. And now I can not only understand that book, I can critique it. I can teach it to others. I've cited it in my own work. That's not because I suddenly got smarter. It's because I put in the work and I didn't give up when it was hard. And that's the real secret here. Persistence. Refusing to quit even when you feel stupid. So here's my challenge to you. Pick one difficult book you've been wanting to read but have been intimidated by. It could be philosophy, science, economics, whatever. And commit to reading just 5 pages a day using these techniques. 5 pages doesn't sound like much, but that's 150 pages a month. That's potentially 2 to 3 difficult books in a year. Books you actually understand, not books you can claim you've read but remember nothing about. Get yourself a good notebook. Find a time of day when your brain is fresh. Set up your environment and read those 5 pages actively. Close the book. Write down what you understood, draw diagrams, identify what confused you. Be honest with yourself about what you do and don't understand. Do this consistently, and in 6 months you'll be shocked at how much your reading comprehension has improved. You'll be able to tackle texts that once seemed impossible, not because you got smarter, but because you built the skill. Reading difficult books is exactly that, a skill. It's not an innate talent that some people have and others don't. It's something you develop through practice, through technique, through persistence. It's like learning to play an instrument or learning a new language. Nobody picks up a violin and plays perfectly on day 1. Nobody learns Spanish in a weekend. These things take time and consistent effort. I genuinely believe that the ability to read and understand complex material is one of the most valuable skills you can develop, whether you're in academia or not. It trains your brain to handle difficult ideas, to think critically, to build knowledge systematically. It teaches you that you can learn hard things if you're willing to put in the work. So start small. Be patient with yourself. Use the techniques I've shared. And remember, every expert reader of difficult books started exactly where you are now, feeling intimidated and unsure. The only difference is they kept going. They didn't let the difficulty stop them. They trusted the process. You can do this. I promise you can do this. It won't always be easy, and there will be days where you want to give up. But if you stick with it, if you're consistent, if you're willing to do the hard work of active reading, you'll get there. And when you finish that first really difficult book, when you close it and realize you actually understand it, that feeling is incredible. It's proof that you're capable of more than you thought. It's evidence that your brain is stronger than you knew, so go get that book. Open your notebook, set your timer, and start reading. Your future self will thank you.